Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Toomer Talks Show. I'm Dr. Catherine Toomer. I'm a family medicine and community health physician, and I am your host for today and every Tuesday live. So, if you're anything like I was, you have a really hard time trying to figure out what to make for dinner or what to have, especially around this time of the year where you're running around a little bit more. You're having some difficulty trying to figure out what to make for dinner. And especially if you've got small children. Now, one of the things that ever often happens is as soon as we say healthy, the first thing we think is, oh, it's salad, or it's not going to taste very good because it probably has, you know, tastes like, like horse food or something. I don't know. Just a lot of fiber and stuff in it. So, yes, but that's not true. And I'm going to tell you about that today because it's a really easy formula. It's only about 5 steps and it's just simple and it's something you can use for the rest of your life. And your whole family will appreciate it. Your whole family will eat it because, as we know, when we're busy, the last thing we're going to do is start making more than one meal for the family to make sure that everybody eats. So before I get started, I want you to just say hello. Tell me where you're listening from. If you're listening to this later, put hashtag replay. And just know that you follow me and subscribe, follow, like on YouTube and share with other people if you find this helpful. The other is that at the end, I always have a Q&A. So if you have questions that you'd like to ask me as a family physician, then please wait till the end and ask. Oh, you could ask throughout, but I may or may, if it's about this topic, I'll probably talk about it right then. But if it's something else, I'll wait till the end. And also, if you have questions or if you want me to help you with something or you think you might need a consultation, you can go to my website at drtoomer.com or you can write to me at help@drtoomer.com. Either way, I'll get to you and we can discuss some things. Hello, Marcy. Thank you for showing up. Good evening to you from Barbados. So, so the easiest way to try and figure out what to eat and how to eat healthily. So the main reason, what is healthy eating really? What healthy eating really is just simply that you have all of your macronutrients and as many of your micronutrients, your minerals and vitamins that you can in a particular meal. And the reason is that these are the things that get broken down that send messages to your brain that tell your brain if you've eaten. It tells your brain if you have enough of something. It makes you crave things or not crave things because when you notice if you crave something, often it's something that you need in your diet. It's high in something that you need. If you crave carrots, it's probably that you need vitamin A. If you crave um, you know, uh, some fruits, often it means you're dehydrated because there's a lot of water in fruit, or you need vitamin C. So what this does is that it gives you all the things that you need in order for your brain to get all the signaling it needs. And then that your brain then sends the right signals to your body. So it helps with hunger. It helps with all the other things. But one of the most important things, though, is not to get bored. You want to be able to eat in a way so that you don't get bored of eating the same things all the time. And I'm going to teach you a really easy trick in order to do that, where you can change it up all the time and then get and have healthy meals. So the number one thing, hola, Dalasai, and thank you for coming, Sherry from Brooklyn, New York. So this is what you do. You essentially try to provide as much of what you need in your meals as much as possible. So you want your protein, you have your carbohydrates, and you have your fats. Those are your macronutrients. And the way to get healthy doses of those is to, and then of course you want vegetables and you want a bunch of other things for your micronutrients, your vitamins, and your minerals. So the way to do this is pick a protein. Just decide on the protein that you want to eat, whether it's chicken, whether it's turkey, lamb. If it's a vegetable protein, it can be beans, it can be, soy, if or fish or some type of seafood instead. So what you do is you pick your protein first. Then, number two, you pick your vegetable, preferably green, preferably not something starchy. Potatoes, yes, are a vegetable. Corn, yes, are a vegetable. Peas are, yes, a vegetable, but they're also very high in sugar, high in starch. And so you want to kind of stay away from the starchy vegetables if you can, unless they're very colorful. So like carrots are definitely a starchy vegetable, but they also have a lot of good other things in it. So the more colorful the food, the better it is for you. The closer to its original state, the better it is for you. So, meat that looks like meat, beans that look like beans, they haven't been processed very much. So you pick your meat, then you pick your vegetable, leafy green, broccoli, cauliflower. One of the things, except for cauliflower, is one of those colorless foods that actually is very, very high in nutrition. So that's the one exception to the rule. Um, whatever vegetable you want. And then you pick your carbohydrate, rice, potatoes, or it can have none, but quinoa, something that's high in protein, some type of ancient grain like farro or something like that. You just pick that. So you have your meat, your protein. It can be meat, it can be vegetable, or it can be seafood. You pick your vegetable. The more colorful, the better. So it is, green, leafy. The more green, the more leafy, the better. But it can really be any vegetable that has a lot of nutrients in it. And then you decide on your carbohydrate that you want. Yes, I talk a lot about carbohydrates and how carbohydrates our bodies make fat, but you also need it. Your brain needs carbohydrate to function. So you want to have at least a little bit in there. Then you decide on your flavor profile. So those are the three things that you look for. Then you decide on your flavor profile. Do you want Asian? Do you want it soy sauce based or ginger or green onion based, or do you want it herb, garlic and herb? So yeah, you're gonna add garlics and herb to it. Or do you want it to be Italian, so it's more based on basil or oregano? Do you want it more Indian? So it's curries and perhaps and some, cilantro or dhania as we call it some parts of the world. So, you just decide on your flavor profile. Do you want it to be more rosemary or thyme or sage? Just decide on the flavor profile that you want and the type of what you're going to get when you add it to your food. So basically you pick a part of the world and then you copy that flavor. And then the fifth step is you decide on how you're going to cook it. Is it going to be grilled? Will it be stewed? Will it be broiled? Will it be, grilled? Did I say grilled already? Will it be fried? Yes, fried is actually not a problem. It's not the frying that causes the problem. It's actually the breading around what you fry that causes the problem. So if you want to have some type of batter, you just want to make sure that the batter or the covering is far less than the actual size of the protein itself. And then you put it all together. So there are certain meals like stir fries, for example, where you can have it all together. You have your protein, you have your vegetable, you have a little bit of rice if you want to put rice in there, and then you add your seasoning like your soy sauce, ginger, and that's really how it works. And you can mix and match however you want any given day. And that's really how simple it is to eat healthily and not get bored. And I know it seems like whoo, but really it's really that simple. Pick a protein, pick a vegetable, pick a carbohydrate, pick a flavor profile, then pick how you're going to cook it. That's it. And that is how and whatever you do, you can do it in under 30 minutes. My children were growing up, actually even now, most of my meals take less than 30 minutes. I don't know if many of you remember Rachel Ray, where she had those 30-minute meals. I love that show. But that's exactly how I cook. You know, you can even, um, if you decide you want to have pasta, you can actually mix it with vegetables. You can mix it with meat. You can make a meat sauce. And then you have both a vegetable, which is the tomato but you want to be careful with tomato sauce because it can get kind of sweet and it can drive your sugar up. But if you use tomato sauce, you want to put a whole lot of meat in it. You can actually put greens in it, like spinach, and then put it over pasta. And there's your carb. And that's it. Now, there is another trick, especially this time of year, that works really, really well, is stews. If you put all of it together in a stew, you can actually have a complete meal in a bowl. Just like how you can have a stir fry and a complete meal in a bowl, you can also have a stew with a complete meal in a bowl. It can be a bean based if you're a vegetarian. It can be soy based if you're a vegetarian. It can be fish based if you're a pescatarian. It can be, shrimp or fish. It can be, and if you don't eat red meat, then it could be chicken or turkey. And if you do eat red meat, it can be any of the red meats. Beef and lamb. And you essentially do the same thing. You pick a protein, you add a vegetable, decide on your vegetable, decide on, if you're going to put starch in it, like barley or potato to thicken it up. And then you add your stock and you add your seasoning and decide that's what your seasoning is going to be. And that's a very easy way of eating in a healthy way. And you can make a lot of it, so you can eat it more than one day. You can choose different things that are people's favorites, so that way, you just make sure everybody will eat. And it's really very simple. I know I told you it was going to be really, really simple. Oh, hi everyone. A stew, complete meal in a bowl. Great idea. Thank you, Sherry. Um, Stock up in advance. Yes, that's true. So Marcy says kidney beans with chicken and potatoes and vegetables are really good. Absolutely. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It's what I do often when I visit my mother. I always just make her a stew, and it's always something different. Just I choose a meat, choose a vegetable. Now in stews, some of the best ones are like chopped up spinach or greens, or kale is really good in stews. For those people who don't even like it in kale by itself, will really like it in stews. And so it just gives it a nice, and all the other good thing about stews and soups is that when you put vegetables in it, so when you cook vegetables, a lot of the nutrients goes out into the water that comes out of the vegetables or the water that you cook it in. But when you put them in a stew, all that stays in the stew. And so you get a really good combination of proteins, of nutrients, and it's, again, a meal in a bowl. So that is, I mean, this is really quick, and partly because, like I said, it's very, very, very simple. And this time of year, stews and soups are a really nice thing to have. And then the other is if you decide, because some people like bread or biscuits or cornbread or other things, with their meals when they have soup. And so what you can do is just leave the starch out. Don't put potatoes in it. Don't put barley in it, and have it with bread instead. Or the other is, chili is technically a stew. So beans, you can have, all bean chili, which is vegetarian. You can have meat and bean chili. And, you can use chicken in your chili. It doesn't have to be beef. There's lots of different ways of making chili. The one thing you've got to be careful with chili, though, is if you're using tomato sauce, you don't want to add any extra sugar, and you want to use the ones that are sugar-free if you can. And just realize that the tomato sauce itself is the carbohydrate. So keep that in mind, because it is sugar, essentially. It's a fruit, and your body treats it like a fruit. So that's it. That's my presentation for the day. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now. If you can't think of anything and you think of something later, you can write to me at help@drtumor.com. please share this with anyone that you think might be helpful. And, have people subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video. So that way it gets more play and other people get to hear it. So, any questions at all? Nope. All right. I mean, like I said, we're getting to the time of year where we want things to be simple. We want things to be relaxing, and this is one way of doing it. It doesn't have to be complicated. Healthy doesn't have to mean bland, and healthy doesn't have to mean, you know, intricate. It could just be something simple that you do. But the other thing that's very easy to do this, like I said, pick a vegetable, pick a protein, pick a vegetable, pick a carb, and then pick how you eat it, and then pick how you cook it. Um, and again, when you are on a health journey and you do this, it's sort of like deconstructing your meals. So if you aren't eating a lot of carbohydrates, you can eat a little bit of the starch that you've made and eat more of the protein and more of the vegetables. And then someone else in your family who may not be trying to restrict their carbs or in any way, they may have a little bit of everything all at the same time and mix it up. And so that's how you do it, so that everyone eats and you don't get derailed and it's healthy and tastes good, hopefully. Um, any suggestions for Thanksgiving? Um, well, for Thanksgiving, well, actually, if you want, there is a video. I just did a how to eat for Thanksgiving, and it's sort of in the same vein as this. So usually in Thanksgiving, if you think about it, this is how we usually do it. The protein is the turkey. The vegetables are the string beans, broccoli, cauliflower, um, Brussels sprouts is often very common, cabbage, greens, kale or collards, just whatever vegetables you want. And then usually the starch is um, dressing or stuffing, depending on how you make it. Or it may be macaroni and cheese, or it may be, wild rice or something. But that's also, and then that's your starch. And so when it comes to Thanksgiving, most people roast their turkey and they may saute their vegetables and then however they want to make their starch. And that's basically how you create that meal. Thanksgiving in and of itself is not necessarily an unhealthy meal. It's usually the volume of food we eat that becomes unhealthy, or if it's too heavily uh, carbohydrate weight. And the way I often say is, half your plate should be meat and vegetables. And then all the other ooey gooey stuff that you really like, is you take a spoonful of each one to fill up the other part of your plate. But half, if you make half your plate vegetables and protein, you're actually gonna, come out pretty well with Thanksgiving. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So when it comes to the volume, basically what you do to reduce the volume at Thanksgiving is use smaller plates. If you really just don't want to overeat in Thanksgiving, and also stop eating when you've reached a point where you're satisfied, but eating off of smaller plates helps. It really does. And then keeping in mind that if you want to have dessert, you just kind of try to not eat too much of the starchy stuff in your dinner, and then save your carbs as your dessert. Now, sometimes, and I'm a firm believer, is you celebrate, and when you're eating, when you celebrate, the calories don't count. That's not really true, but there's some days, yes, we're on a health journey. You don't want to make yourself ill, but at the same time, you want to celebrate. You want to be able to eat the things that people have made out of love. And so, even if you're on a health journey and you're on a weight loss journey, that may be a day where it's a weight neutral day where you're not trying to lose weight, you're not trying to further your process. However, you just don't want to do anything that's going to harm you health wise. So if you know you're salt restricted, you stay salt restricted. If you know that you're carb restricted because you have really brittle diabetes, stay carb restricted and focus more on the protein and vegetables. If you know there's certain foods that are going to cause you a problem, like the turkey may lead to a gout attack or may be too much protein for your kidneys, stick to your diet plan, because the last thing you want is to take a celebration and then turn it into a tragedy because you're getting ill, and then suddenly that becomes the focus. Yep, Thanksgiving Day calories don't count for that day only. The problem we run into with Thanksgiving is we always have leftovers, and there is weight. Now, I do have a video. I did a webinar, a Thanksgiving and how to eat, holiday eating webinar. I do it every single year. And I did do it on the 8th. I have a recording of that if you want it. I guess I could where can I put it? I'll put it on my website. Or you can write to me at help@drtumor.com if you want it. But I'll put it on my website so that way you can get access to it. I may not put it up on YouTube, although there's older ones on YouTube. I may not put it up on YouTube because I'm starting to try to curate what goes onto YouTube, and then things that are very seasonal, where they don't, age well, as they say. I may not put it on, but I will give people access. So, hi Denise. Nice to see you. So, any other questions? All right. Well, this is going to be a short and sweet one. It used to be where I would do this for about 20 minutes, and they just kept getting longer and longer because I get more and more questions. But if you have, like I said, if you think of anything now, you can type it in the chat, or you can write to me at help@drtumor.com, and I will answer. The other is if you comment after the video, any of my videos, I always respond. So if you have a question, you think of it later, or if it's related to one of my other videos, you can just put the comment below and I will respond to it. And then, like I said, and then just share the video with others, like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on Facebook or you see some of my stuff on Facebook, you can share it there with your audience as well, however you want to do it. All right. Well, you all have a good night. And happy eating, happy healthy, and I will see you next Tuesday. Now, next Tuesday is going to be one of those strange because I'll be traveling, so we're going to have a really interesting time next Tuesday. But um, Sherry said, I don't have a lot of questions because you consistently provide great advice and tips. Well, thank you so much. I try. I really do. But so I will see you all next Tuesday. You have a wonderful evening, and I will see you at my Tuesday talks on Tuesday. Good night.